the guy who says the blessing, the person who's given that honor, doesn't necessarily have to drink. It could go to the sandak. It could go to a child. It could go to somebody else because it's a birkat shevach, right? And a birkat shevach and not a birkat mitzvah, right? So this is a blessing
or not even a birkat nehanin, right?
Exactly. It's not even about the wine itself. So since it's not even about the fact that you're trying to have the wine itself, as like when I'm sitting around at dinner and I want to make a blessing over the cup of wine, I need to make it over the cup of wine.
That's a nice loophole.
Yeah, like that. This one becomes, it starts asking the questions. How much do you have to drink? I don't know if you went into this yourself, but how much do you have to drink? Is it a malo lugmav, just a cheekful? What if it isn't a cheekful? What if it's less than a cheekful? All those things, all those questions become relevant because it's not, the person doesn't have an obligation to drink wine. It's not like the over the day as much as when we do Shabbos and things like that.
So, I mean, it's interesting talking about quantity. I did see that. So the Taz, and for those less familiar with these acronyms, Rabbi David Halevi Siegel, a 17th century rabbi. So he quotes our Rabbi Yosef Cairo, who quotes in turn from Rabbi Shlomo ben Adred, the Rashba, that we're not so concerned about how much quantity of the wine is consumed. That maybe it could be malo lugmav, cheeks full, like the minimum for Kiddush, but at the same time, that doesn't really, Kiddush is more significant as far as a minimum requirement, but here it's just tasting. And you know what, I'm going to go tangent, which is, speaking of everybody who's drinking it, there also is a practice of the baby getting some of the wine, right?
Correct.
And I think a lot of people are familiar with this.
Right. So there's a moment where when the baby is getting his name, that it says, "In your blood live," right? That's the line that comes. And the mohel is responsible. I mean, it's not life or death if it doesn't happen, but responsible to take a little drop from the cup and put it into the baby's mouth. There's the verse is said twice, and you give 2 drops into the baby's mouth. In some senses, it might feel, reminiscent of the Pesach Seder, where we take a little bit of wine out of our cup and put it around, right? Some people around the rim of the plate, right? But the idea was that the baby gets some, because actually, again, this comes all into who drinks, because the blessing's actually for the baby. If the baby could have done it, the baby's self, maybe the baby would have made the blessing.
Interesting. So it could be anybody. I mean, it could be the person who's making the blessing, could be the sandek to drink, it could be whomever. Obviously, this baby thing. And I do want to point out how old this practice of putting it in the baby's mouth. It's unclear who's drinking it, but I think everybody's clear the baby gets some of this wine. He suffered. Nice. So this goes back all the way to, Rabbi Cairo quotes Rabbi Isaac ben Abba Mari, a 12th century Provençal rabbi, more familiarly known as the Baal HaItur to some people. That seems to be one of the earliest mentions of putting in the baby's mouth is back in the 12th century in France. So and that's one of the oldest references to wine at the Brit Milah, is the baby gets some of that. He's 8 days old. He's already getting wine.
Yes, that's
start him young.